Next up, we return to Phantasy Star. If you remember, we were headed to the Gothic Forest to find Dr. Lavino for helping our quest against Lassic. The way there is in the Palmer Spaceport, and that's why I'm not going there and instead going to this cave on the peninsula south of Skyon. I also run into the first new enemy of this episode, the Skeleton. And one step outside the cave I get into a fight with 4 skeletons who kill Noah. Good start. This is becoming a trend with caves. On the way back to revive him, I find that now I have 4 party members I can end up fighting up to 8 enemies at once. I revive Noah and go back to fighting fishmen to toughen him up. He reaches level 4, Odin reaches level 14, Noah reaches level 5 and Meow reaches level 14. With Noah's 2 level increase I try again, this time I actually make it in. This place is optional, but doing it now will definitely help out. Once again all the treasures are nothing special with the exception of one. The first chest I find in this place is even empty. There are 4 of these in this place, arseholes. Noah reaches level 6 after the first fight here and learns the exit spell. Apparently later Odin hits level 15 after a fight with some goblins. Noah swims for an empty chest, one with a trap in it. I hate them so much. Noah gets to level 7 and I get the first of many doors in this game that lead to a dead end. Followed by a chest that explodes on me and creates a hole I fall through to the next floor. But there were some map squares I hadn't filled in. I see another hole on the map and so I decide fuck it and drop in. You meet with a bit of the pain still getting flashes in chests when the magic lamp renders obsolete. I get I probably wasn't intended to get it so early, but still, I have only 30 inventory slots here. Also a pain is I notice I missed a chest at a previous fork. I go all the way back and the fucker explodes on me. And no, reaching level 8 and learning telepath doesn't make up for it. I never use that spell. In one corner of this floor I face what is kind of the boss of this place, a team of 3 skeletons. At this point I'm strong enough to tear through them. The reward from them is the reason I'm here. It's the Iron Fang, a strong weapon from Meow. Now I could just leave, but I actually have more than half the map to fill in. As I'm filling out the last of this floor, Noah reaches level 9 too. Back up to the previous floor, and as I'm exploring it, Alice gains her first level of the episode, hitting level 17. The chest I get from that fight blows up on me. Meow then gets to level 15 and learns Trap, while Noah reaches level 10 that same fight. And that chest blows up on me too. This dungeon just wants to ruin all my accomplishments. Thankfully the same didn't happen when he reached level 11. Back on the first floor I discover another hole that lets me finally fill out those map squares I couldn't get to when the other chest blew a hole in the ground. I was genuinely worried throughout these last 20 minutes of gameplay that I'd lost access to them forever. Not long later, Odin is level 16. And I finally filled out this place's map. I'd been in there over half an hour without healing and as you can see I got worn down. I am lucky I never lost a single party member while I was here. I return to Kamini for a much needed heal from Suelo. Right, now I can continue the plot. The shortcut to Gothic is in the corner of the Palmer Spaceport under this manhole cover. The Gothic tunnel is mostly a short straight line, but there is one path off to the side with the guy who tells me to leave him alone. This is the town of Gothic and it's not looking so good. Most houses are empty or in ruins, this guy won't let me through to the western part, but others won't tell me anything without giving them a caller first. The first guy tells me that this place was Lavino's lab, but he went mad and is now imprisoned in a place called Triada to the south. The second tells me not to go near a tower at the end of a narrow road that goes from the forest through the mountains because there's a magic beast there that turns people to stone, clearly the Medusa. Well, tough. I'm gonna. At some point. Just not right now. The Triada prison is my next destination. So I set off south from Gothic, staying on the outside of the mountain range. On the way there I add the Serpent to the monster guide. Triada's not very far away though and I get there in no time. Apparently my road pass is all I need to be let into a prison. I talk to the robot again though and say I don't have it so I can fight it and add Robot Cop to the monster guide. Killing it doesn't get rid of it permanently though. There are no random encounters here, which leaves me free to inspect the 2 rows of cells. The first one has a guy scaffing the robot Habsby, telling him Noah reveals it is a robot made of Laconia, which was abandoned somewhere for being useless. Laconia, I forgot to mention last time, being the game's equivalent of Mythful and all those other strongest metals in the world that fantasy worlds tend to have. The second cell had a chest that blew up on me, fuck you too. I find Lavino in the next cell, but he tells me to leave, so I go back and try again. He still refuses to help. The third time he gives in, but only if I do something for him. I agree and he goes back to Gothic to prepare. But I'm still not done here, gotta fill in that map. The next cell I checked had a group of 5 skeletons that got me out to level 16. The last one in this row has a prisoner tell me the pool of lava on the far side of the mountains. Now for the next row. The next prisoner takes a colour from me just to tell me spiders are intelligent. I don't give a shit, just keep them all away from me. I guess he's right though, as the later cell has a tarantula that tells me of polymaterial which dissolves all material except Laconia. Well, 1. Who arrested a giant tarantula? 2. Don't fucking do that to me. The last cell has a man who just wants to talk because he hasn't seen anyone in a while. He talks about his friend in Bortivo who's been inconvenienced by lava and tells me that I should visit him. Now the map's filled, I can leave. I go back to Gothic and meet up with Lavino in his house. He tells me to get his assistant in the underground passage. Remember that guy who told me to leave? Well, I walk right past him. I need healing and I'm too cheap to use a hospital, so I'm going back to Suelo. I get him on the way back. but I still have to pay Lavino 1200 pesetas to build a spaceship. I feel like it should cost a lot more than that. I re-enter his house and he tells me to be more patient. I barge in 2 more times and it's done. But I can't fly it. I need a robot named Hapsby. I thought it was useless. Well, so far I know it was abandoned somewhere. Great start. Well, I set off along the outside of the mountain range again and run into another new enemy, the vampire. And right after it, the Manticore. He got Noah to level 12 and taught him wind. Make it around and there's that lava pool. I lose 2 HP for every step I take in it. I also run into the Marman, who got Alice to level 18. You only take damage in the lava while walking. Standing still in lava while you go through your menus is perfectly safe. After making it through, I found a town next to a cave. But before I get there, one more new enemy, the Skullen. That probably means something very obvious, but it's just not coming to me. After I kill it, I enter the town first. This is Bortivo, the town that prisoner mentioned, and it's an even worse shape than Gothic. The town's only inhabitant tells me there's rumoured to be a robot somewhere in this town. Houses all have piles of scrap in them, but there's nothing I can do with them right now. There's nothing else I can do in town, so into the cave I go. Thankfully, this dungeon is only 1 floor. It connects Bortivo to another town, but it's a bit more complex than the tunnels we've had previously. A couple steps in and I get the ghoul for a monster guide. Then the first chest I find explodes on me. I'm 2 episodes into this series and I can't decide if my biggest nemesis so far is these exploding chests or the mini-bosses from the Super Spy. The big difference is one's the worst part of a good game while the other's the worst part of a shit game. There's a man in one of the corners of this cave who tells me that polymaterial can be bought in another town I haven't been to, Abion. That's the only thing I've noted here. The rest was filling out the map next to it on the other side. Didn't even level up once while I was there. I'm not out on the other side long before I get my next new enemy, the giant fly. It's not any bigger than the other flies though, it's just red. A couple of fights later, a trio of evil dead get Noah to level 13. I get to the coast and add shellfish to the monster guide. They also get Odin to level 17. I have to walk around the entire coastline on the outside of these rocks. We're in for a bit of a long trek, especially with all the shellfish ambushing me every 4 or 5 steps. Around the halfway point, Octopus decides to join in too. The second Octopus I find gets me out to level 17, which teaches him exit. I find another opening in the rock and discover another town. But of course, as soon as I get close, I get another new enemy, the Scorpius. They have the Tarantula's ability to tie up party members, which is nice. The town is called Law. Apparently the town is in decline thanks to Lassic. This isn't actually our destination, it's just more of a place on the break, since we haven't had the chance to rest the party since leaving Gothic, which was 2 towns, a cave and a pool of lava ago. I buy a heat gun for Odin, which does 10 damage to all enemies, and a silver fang for Meow. Anyone else hate it when they constantly reach a new digit with money in RPGs but keep having to spend just enough to go back down? Also, you can tell how many vampire encounters I had based on all the flashes they dropped. But here's the greatest tragedy. Walking back to Kamini to heal at Swellows is just not practical here. So, I'm actually going to have to pay for the hospital. It cost me just under 200 pesetas. You think I can just be throwing around that kind of money? But enough about my cheapness. How the hell does this guy in this impossible to get to place know I'm aiming to kill Lassic? Also something about the crystal book and evil magic. Is it this amber eye owned by the Casper dragon someone else tells me about? The guy in the one ruined house tells me about Liama trees on the Altiplano plateau on Deseris. Still haven't been to that planet yet. Most important for now though is that Abion, the town that sells polymaterial, is on the western edge of this island. So I set off, and seconds later the Sphinx is added to my monster guide. I end up fighting a lot of these on the way to Abion actually. It's another long walk for a lot of forest too, so I do get a bit sick of seeing them, especially when I get 4 of them. They're also always dropping flashes I don't need. After a while though I do get something new, a palette swap of the evil dead called the White. What is weird though is, as I get closer to Abion, owlbears start popping up again. Remember when just one of these was a death sentence? Good times. Of course the owlbears are the only ones on the way whose chest exploded on me. Doesn't matter though, I finally get to Abion, and I still have to settle for paying at the hospital. I don't like it. I do make most of the money back though, selling all those flashes and a couple odd weapons. The food shop has the polymaterial for some reason, and I'm back below 5 digits after just getting it back up there. Not that it would have stayed that way anyway, since I then spent over half the money I had left on a laser shield for Alice. There's a guy shouting for help saying Lassic is there, but that's just not true. More interestingly is the man who says that some cats can grow and fly from eating a special nut. Considering a cat is in my party, I feel that's foreshadowing something. There's also someone going around doing armor experiments with a large pot. Well, that's all to do here for now. There is a tunnel in the corner of town, but I'll be coming back later for that. Now for the long trek back. To sum it up, Alice reached level 19 and Noah reached level 14 and learned Protect. Back in Bortivo, I used the polymaterial on this pile of scrap, which reveals Hapsby. He somehow already knows we have a ship called the Lavino and happily enters my inventory. Time to cast Fly and return to Kamini. It feels good to have that free heal back. I take the tunnel back to Gothic and this guy will finally let me pass. We'll finally have access to our spaceship. For the first time I can choose to go to Deseris, but not now. First I want to go to Uzo and Mortavia. The first thing I learn here is of a town called Casper to the south. I remember the man in Moor telling me of the Casper dragon, so I assume I'll find the amber eye near there. It's confirmed by the very next one I talk to telling me of the Casbah Cave. One guy asks if I know the soothing flute and then tells me he buried one on the outskirts of Gothic. I buy a lightsaber for Alice and take the spaceship back to Gothic. Slightly annoying is that you can't enter or leave the ship area in Gothic without talking to this guy first, and his dialogue is not going to change for the rest of the game. I go to this tree and search, finding the flute. This lets me escape from dungeons anytime I want. Worth a short detour. Back to Uzo, and now I'm going to head south to Casbah. I leave town, take one step and get a fight with 2 tarantulas that gets me out to level 18. After going southwest a little bit, I find a town surrounded by rocks. That's Casbah. And that's the Casbah Cave, the only way in. This place is 3 floors, but the first is short with no branching paths. After an exploding chest, fuck you by the way, on the 2nd floor puts me in a fight with some Scorpius. Odin reaches level 18. The top right corner of this floor has the boss of this place, the Blue Dragon. If you remember, last time I fought a dragon it didn't go so well. But my higher levels and better equipment do wonders for this battle. Odin does die though. And while I had just 5 HP left, no misses and attacking is killed too. After it dies, just as that townsperson told me, it drops the Amber Eye. I use a soothing flute to get out and fly to return to Camelot to revive and heal before heading back. I'd have gone back a lot quicker if it wasn't for the fight with 8 barbarians. The 712 Mercedes were worth it though. While filling out the 3rd floor map, Noah reaches level 15. Just taking the path through the cave to the town is a lot more straightforward. And before long I'm in the town Casbah. The second-hand shop sells a Land Rover for driving other Antlions, but at 5200 Mercedes I can't afford it. There's one man in the house who tells me he abandoned a hovercraft in Borti though. How would I miss that? I also learn of the Mystic Shield in a village surrounded in mist, and of the poison gas above the sea to the west. Well, back to Camelot, time to get the hovercraft from Borti though. It was a fairly uneventful journey back, Alice reached level 20, but that's about it. Back at Bortivo for the final time, I enter the first house and search the rubble. We find the hovercraft and Hatsby repairs it. Now I can cover water and have access to a few new places. After healing, I go to the peninsula where the Scion Cave is. I go directly south and find a town on a platform. This is Drazgo. It's very small, has only 3 buildings. There is stuff to learn though. A man saw a giant rock float through the sky, there's a magic sword in a tower on a forgotten island, and at the top of Bayou Malay is always hidden by clouds. But none of that is why I'm here. There's a warehouse here. Inside I find a shop that sells me a gas shield for 1000 Mercedes, so that poison gas mentioned in Casbah won't be a problem. Now to fill in that map. There's no enemies here so it'll take no time. While doing so I find a man pretending to run the shop I just found. I think they intended me to find this guy first. When I'm nearly done I find the guy who tells me about the shop. Okay, I think they intended me to find this guy first. After finishing here I think it's time to put that gas shield to use. I can still get into random encounters in the hovercraft by the way, but fishmen are no threat anymore. Time to fly back to Uzo. This time I'm heading west from the town. And the first fight out there gets me out to level 19. As I reach the mountains I then head north until I reach water. I head west on the hovercraft until I reach this island covered in gas. I find a town in the middle, but you know what tends to happen by now when I approach a new area. The Sorcerer, the first non-dragon enemy to have triple-digit HP. It was no big deal. One step later though I get another new enemy, the Reaper. This guy has the highest HP of any random encounter so far, and he's an hard bastard. His first attack took out a third of Odin's HP. Then his second took out the other third. Worse was when he charged up his next attack and removed about 2/3 of Now's HP in one go. The next turn he snuck in the first move and killed Odin while he had only 6 HP left. I consider 254 Mercedes a suitable reward for just one of these guys. One more step later and I get another new enemy, the Zombie. Thankfully these guys are pushovers. One more step later I'm stuck with another Reaper. For some dumbass reason I decided to fight it instead of running. He wiped out Noah's 81 remaining HP with just one hit. He killed me out the next turn too. Such a genius idea. He got scarily close to killing Alice too after she missed the attack that would have killed him. And the chest was rigged to shoot me. Beautiful. Thankfully it let me into the town this time. This is Sopia. It has no church. Oh yes, I definitely need help. I guess I should just do what I need to and go. It turns out that Lasic's the reason for the land declining so horribly here. He's just that evil. The head of the village asks for a 400 Mercedes donation. In return he tells me the shield wants to use to defeat Medusa on a small island in the middle of a lake. I also run into Miki, named after one of the game's assistant coordinators, who asks if I like Sega games. Cute. There's another beggar asking for a cola, who takes it and tells me nothing in return. I learn of a monk named Tajim in the mountains to the south of the lake, and that's about it for this place. Time to fly back to Camelot again. It cost over $1,000 to revive everyone. As I get back to the water I head sandworms in the monster guide. I find the small island the head of Sopia told me about, and after searching a spot under the antlion nest, I find the mirror shield and give it to Odin. I go to the land south of Sopia and run into a Munsen, the most unique looking enemy so far. I keep heading south until I find Tarzimal's cave. Considering how far into the game you can even get here, the enemy selection is mostly weak stuff from the beginning, owlbears and red slimes and all that. No one does get to level 16 though. You start until the second floor I get something new, in this case the battalion. After fighting many more of these along with some wights and sphinxes, Odin reaches level 19. The first floor is where things start getting serious and the cave throws a red dragon at me. I haven't fought one since the one in the Harrow Cave destroyed me. Odin dies, due to my strategy of mashing attack and hoping the dragon dies first, but in the end I come out on top. Now I know I'm ready to go back to Maharu Cave and avenge myself. Despite Odin's death, I choose to keep going. If I get another red dragon, I choose to run this time instead of risking the game over. On this floor I also find Tarzimel, Noah's teacher. He tests Noah with a one-on-one fight. This time I'm actually using Noah's magic. I cast Protect on him and repeatedly cast Wind, which is a multi-hit spell. I do run out of MP though and have to resort to Noah's weak regular attack, but at this point I'm no longer in danger of losing unless something went horribly wrong. By the way, Tarzimel is the Tajin mentioned in Sopia, Tajin being his Japanese name. The translators just missed that one, like when they had the governor of Motavia refer to Noah as she. Upon defeat, Tarzimel gives Noah the Frayed Mantle, Noah's best armour, which increases his defence by 40, compare that to his second best armour, which boosts his defence by only 5. I said Noah had a small equipment pool. Also, I didn't even move before the game threw in a Munson at me. He also killed Noah, so much for surpassing his master. Now I'm just running from every fight while I complete the map. Of course, while I'm in this vulnerable state I get an exploding chest, and then a red dragon, and then a chest that shoots me. But it looks like I'm done for, doesn't it? Wrong. There's a hidden area through this wall. Hidden here is, of all things, a titanium sword, a weapon long outclassed. A red dragon won't let me escape, so I actually use Alice's buy spell for once. I think this is the only time I use it. With that map filled, I flute out and fly to Kamini. Before I continue, I want to return to Maharu Cave to finish it off. I can't get there from Uzo without the Land Rover, so I have to fly to Paseo. However, I'm told the spaceport is closed and they confiscate my passport. I'm assuming this will happen the first time I try the spaceport after I get Villavino and need to clear out an extra space in my inventory. I guess I'm continuing the plot instead. Alice reaches level 21 in the Gothic Tunnel, and finally we're going to Skure on Deseris. And here it is, the planet of ice. Now before I can get to Skure, I have to go through this tunnel first. The first new enemy this planet throws at me is the Evil Head. Also, while I'm here, Meow reaches level 20 and learns Help, his final spell. This is Skure. Towns on Deseris are underground, probably because living there on the surface isn't a very appealing thought. I buy a wand for Noah, his best weapon which still isn't very good, a laser gun for Odin which deals 20 damage to all enemies, and a glove for Meow. That's all I came to this planet for actually, but while I'm here I may as well see if there's anything interesting to learn for later. I find out that the Altiplanar Plateau, where those Lima trees are, is on top of the Ice Mountain, but the whole planet is made of ice, which one is the Ice Mountain? I also learned that weapons made of Laconia are made with holy power, which Lassic fears. Would that Laconian parchment for Meow work on him? Like, if I just cracked him over head with it, would that do holy damage? This one tells me that the native Dazorians live on a town in the far reaches of the mountains. Yeah, no one in Skure is a Dazorian, they're all Palman migrants. One more new term I'm not going to understand until later. The dead Garan Morg have been called back to life. Is this Morg a place or a group of people? I don't know what this guy's on about. And also something about an eclipse torch. This all guy just tells me you need Laconian weapons to beat this game because they are the best. Well, time to leave this planet already. On my way out of the tunnel I get blue slime for the monster guide. This time I'm flying back to Parma. I'm going back to Abion. Sadly, because of the rocks I can't just land outside Abion. I have to get off near Law and walk the rest of the way again. On the walk back I encountered an enemy I missed the first time around, the giant. Based on the HP I'm a little glad I'm only just meeting it. Back in Abion I'm finally entering this warehouse. Like the other warehouses there are no enemies, so I'm free to fill in the map and open up the chests at my own pace. I exit on the other side to find this house in the middle of a lake. Inside is this weird cyborg man who demands I bring Meow over to him. No, I'm not giving him a cat. He gets all pissy and starts a fight. This is Dr. Mad, who we heard of earlier, the man who performs animal experiments. If I'd have said yes to him, he would have killed Meow and I'd be one party member down for the fight. His attacks hit very hard, but I managed to overpower him with little difficulty. Well, except for Odin dying. When he dies, he drops another Laconian pot. Can I swap it for a second Meow? That'd be helpful. Filling that last little bit of the map on my way out, revive Odin and be on my way. Next I'm going east of Skyon in the ocean. I follow that long running tradition of discovering a new area and then seconds later discovering a new enemy. This one's the Ammonite. It's a shellfish, but green. With that interruption out of the way, I can enter the Forgotten Tower. First thing, new dungeon music. Finally! Not that the first one is bad, but it's nice to hear something new. Second, this is the longest dungeon so far, with 5 big floors. I'm not getting through this one in one, is it? I'm this far, and the game's still mocking me with chests containing only 20 Mercetas. The fight after this raises Noah's level to 17, which teaches him Open. We'll get to that spell later. On the second floor I run into Nessia, Parsip of the Serpent. Other than that, this segment of the second floor is pointless and exists to waste time, except for weird map fillers like me. Back to the first to try another staircase. After finding a section of the second floor that actually goes somewhere, I find an Andro cop on the third floor, a Parsip of the Robot Cop. By the way, thought 20 Mercetas wasn't enough for this point in the game? Try 1 Merceta. After that a fight with some Sphinx gets me out to level 21. Then I fall through the floor into that pointless part of floor 2. While I'm fighting my way back, Odin reaches level 20. And after all that effort getting back, I'm greeted by my old friend the Exploding Chest. I do like the trap tile on the 4th floor that politely lets you open the chest first though. Very kind of it. On the way back I fill in that one map square I skipped the first time through. Watching this back to write this, I was genuinely worried I'd forgotten to get it. Back on the floor 4, and you know what I think I need? A stronger Parsip of the Reaper of all enemies. Oh, it's weaker. Why did it show up later? Did they tell me to do this tower before going to Sopia? I feel like this section discovered that this particular route up the 4 floors was all for a burger and 20 Mercetas. Gotta love 80s RPG sadism. Well, that's all for the first visit. I'm healing up and trying again. Just one corner of the first floor left to try, and Alice reaches level 22 on the way there. The third floor on this route has a man who just recommends I leave, and based on the sudden jump in my money count you're seeing, you can bet there was a lot of messing around with the map squares I skipped over. During a long stretch on the fourth floor that gave me nothing but marauders, no one got to level 18 and learned Thunder. On the fifth floor I had another skeleton pellet swap to the Stalker, to the Monster Guide, but my party just got worn down again, so I had to leave and heal once more. 10 minutes later, Meow reaches level 22 while I'm back on the fourth floor and finishing up its map. Back on the fifth floor for a couple seconds and I get another new enemy, the Green Dragon. These are the weakest dragons in the game, so there's nothing to be worried about. I slowly make my way to the centre of the floor and face another Red Dragon. When it dies, it drops a Laconian Sword, the most powerful sword in the game. I give it to Alice and finally I can leave. Altogether this place took just over an hour to fully complete. Next up I head back to Motavia. Since I can afford it now, I'm going back to Casva to buy that Land Rover. On the way back, Noah reaches level 19. I buy the Land Rover so now I can explore more of this planet and get back to Paseo. I go back to Maharu Cave, get Odin to level 21, get Alice to level 23, kill that Red Dragon and finish off the map, giving me closure on this place. Now I want a total of 25,000 Mesatas, so I have a lot of grinding to do. While travelling to the grinding place, I add Golem to the Monster Guide. I head between these two mountains and start fighting sandworms. A group of 3 get me 387 Mesatas. Even so, I still have a lot to kill. During that time, Meow reached level 23, Noah reached level 20 on his final spell, Rise, which resurrects fallen party members, that's all the spells in this game learned too, and Odin reached level 22. Altogether it only took about half an hour to raise the money. First thing I do with the money is go out to Paseo and buy a diamond armour for Alice. Look at that money drop, it hurts to watch. Now I'm going back to Desoris, and this time it's to actually do stuff. Time to finally explore this planet. I head southwest and run into a Desorian. Am I seriously going to another planet and wiping out its natives? I find this cave. Not much to say about it, I open its chest, fill in its map and leave through the other side. The only thing on the other side is another cave. Alice reaches level 24 in it, that's it though. No new enemies, no treasure at all, just fill in the map and keep moving forward. Once again I met with another cave. There is one new thing in here, the White Dragon, the first random encounter to have 200 HP. At this point I'm good at killing dragons though. I follow the mountains to the east. On the way, Horseman is added to my monster guide. A couple of minutes of walking gets me to the fourth tunnel. No treasure in this place again, but it's a lot bigger than the previous 3. While I'm in here, a fight with some battalion gets Noah to level 21, and some Sphinx get Odin to level 23. Out the other side I find a town. I've still got to go through another tunnel to get to it though. No branching paths and the only thing to happen here is Meow getting to level 24. Through the exit is Twin Town, the biggest town in the game. It's also the final new town to discover. I heal at the hospital, and this town has native Desorians that I am not killing. The second-hand shop has the other item I was grinding money for, the Ice Digger. This vehicle was the only reason I came here, but of course I'm going to chat to everyone I can find. As the name implies, Twin Town is actually 2 neighbouring towns, and they don't trust each other. And one of the towns hates Palmans. Wonder why? His neighbour tells me of the Aero Prism, which lets me see another world. One has some friends in the Desoris Cave, which is to the east of some place called the Corona Tower. The guy next door lets me know that Corona Tower is on the far side of the mountain to the north of Twin Town. The people in this village like us at least. I learn about using a crystal on a Liama tree to get a Liama nut, and that there is a spring of life in the Corona Tower. Well, time to move on. I have a lot to do on this planet. In the area between the third and fourth tunnels, I get on the Ice Digger, go west past the third tunnel to this wide open area, encounter Magician for the Monster Guide, and head northwest until I find the Garon Morgue. Fittingly, this place has a lot of zombies, in fact they are the only enemies here. It only has 2 floors as well, so it shouldn't take too long, although some monster place a trap floor right in front of a door. Noah reaches level 22 while I'm exploring other ways around, then I remember Meow has a trap spell which is for walking over the trap floors. Behind that door is a chest that shoots me, but also gives me Vilconian armour, the best armour in the game. I give it to Odin and I'm done here. That room with the chest was the last pair of map squares I needed. After returning to Twin Town and healing, Odin reaches level 24. In the south of that wide open area, I smash through the mountain with the Ice Digger. I find this cave hidden away from the rest of the planet. This is the Aero Prism cave. This cave is a short one, only having 1 floor. I go quite a distance without getting into any fights, and oh Jesus, 5 enemies with 180 HP. The game isn't playing around anymore. The mammoths take a lot of punishment before they go down. Close to the end, the 4 remaining all target Noah in the same turn and kill him. I get a nice 625 Meseta prize though. Well, going back to Twin Town already. While breaking through the ice on the way back, I encounter Frostman, another new enemy. I revive Noah and try again. This time I make it to the centre of the cave and fight the boss, 2 titans. I actually use magic here too, casting Help which boosts attack power on Alice and Meow and having Noah cast Wind. It's worth the MP when Alice does around 80 damage with 1 physical attack. This was an easy fight and I was never in any danger. My reward is the Aero Prism. Before I leave I find a woman who tells me to raise the Aero Prism towards the heavens to see the Dark Castle. I'll do it later. On the way back to Twin Town to heal, Noah reaches level 23. Next destination is this cave at the north of that wide open area. This passage leads to the Corona Tower. Despite having 2 floors, it's the shortest dungeon in the game. I only have 1 fight while passing through. I keep going northwest until I reach the Corona Tower. It's 4 floors high and very red. It does have that nice second dungeon music though. It also has red dragons as regular enemies. There are Dazorians in here too. One tells me Lassic is terrified of a crystal owned by a soothsayer named Amar. After a door places me right on top of the hole and I slay many red dragons while trying to get back, Noah reaches level 24. He's finally caught up with the rest of the party. As you can see on the map here, the second floor has a lot of trap holes, while the third floor is completely uneventful. On the fourth floor we also have the Titan showing up as a regular enemy. This floor is long by the way, there's no branching paths but it's just one long winding path. At the end of this floor I meet a Dazorian who swaps me the Eclipse Torch for the Amberite I got all the way back in Casper Cave. After going back and finish off the maps to floors 3 and 2, I leave, but not before Noah reaches level 25 on the way out. I heal at Twin Town once again. Next I want to go even further west past the Corona Tower until I find the Desiree's Cave. Right away I'm greeted by Dazorian who tells me to turn left at the next fork in the road. So I do. Turns out he's a liar and I'm dropped down to the 6th floor, which is just an endless circle with an exploding chest. I need to go here anyway to fill in the map, so I'm not mad. So I flute out. I guess it may be possible to trap yourself here forever if you don't get the flute and save down there. Bit of a dick move if true. That trap is the only notable thing about this place actually. Despite the 6 floors, it's actually shorter than you'd expect. It only took me 9 minutes to get what I came here for. I get to the 6th floor and find a chest with the Laconian shield, the strongest shield in the game, which I give to Alice. A few more minutes filling in the map, and I leave. One more thing to do. I head back through the third tunnel, head west, and smash through the ice to this forest. I approach the lone tree in the middle and use the Eclipse Torch to get Liama Note and put it in the Laconian pot. And that's it for Desiree. Yep, did every important thing on this planet in one visit. I missed my free heals from Suelo, so it's time to cast Fly and return to Twin Town? The Fly spell teleported to the last church you visit, but before coming to this planet I only used the one in Kamini, so in my mind the spell became the Warp to Kamini spell. Now I've just doubled my journey back to the ship. Nothing happens on the way back by the way, no new enemies or levels gained. At this point Ars hasn't leveled up in a few hours while everyone else has caught up. Back at Gothic, and why did I waste money on the hospital there when Suelo was just a short journey away? Twice now I've journeyed south from Gothic, but both times I've kept to the outside of the mountains. Now I'm taking the route on the inside. At the end of the path I find a Medusa's tower. It's 7 floors high. At this point I'm having trouble summarising these dungeons. The amount of new enemies has thinned a lot and my party members can take most of what the game is throwing at me no problem, and they're so high level that there are now hours between level ups. This means I'm only leaving the dungeons when I've been worn down by the sheer number of fights. Odin does get to level 25 while I'm here though, which gives him a massive 1 HP increase. The Centaur is the only new enemy I find here, and Noah gets to level 26 for a 1 HP and 1 MP gain. Eventually I have to leave and heal after about half an hour of exploring. This is all doing wonders for my wallet though, not very much since I have nothing else expensive left to buy. During the second visit, Alice finally reaches level 25 and outdoes Odin and Noah with a 2 HP increase but no MP increase. What's going on? Have they all passed the prime or something? I add Wyvern to the monster guide and finally meet this Medusa. Who else would play in this game, after hearing about the Medusa and finding Odin in a cave for the beginning, expected to finally be meeting her so close to the end of the game? Because I didn't. Thanks to my high levels, great equipment and Odin's mirror shield, he can finally get his revenge. She drops the Laconian axe for Odin, by far the strongest weapon in the game. As usual I fill in the last of the map, and leave. It's been a while Sorello, I've missed your free heals. While we're tying things up mentioned at the very beginning of the game, I go northeast of Skyhunt to the Biomalay prison. The dungeon key doesn't work on this door though. Remember that open spell Noah learned ages ago? That's what it's for. This place has an imprisoned Dazorian who gives me hints on how to find the Laconian army if I hadn't already. Other prisoners are so afraid of Lassic they don't even bother trying to escape, even if they know he plans to sacrifice them. One prisoner tells me the tower at the top of Biomalay and that there is a secret at the top of it. I'm stopped by a robot cop who asks to see my road pass again. This one knows it's a fake however and throws me in prison. An easily escapable prison. This time I just killed the robot cop. Out on the other side and I find a Biomalay cave a little to the north. This cave is thankfully very small and filled with early game enemies. It does have a perfectly live Dr. Mad just hanging around in it though. Only 25 experience for him. The exit leads to a second lava pool, but now I have the holocraft I don't have to walk through it. There is a new enemy in here, the Tentacle, an octopus pellet swap. He also gets me out to level 25. Past the lava pool is the Biomalay tower. Holy shit, this dungeon. 8 floors, made more complicated with over 20 staircases between them to navigate. If I'm struggling to describe these places by Medusa's tower, this one's impossible, so I'll just summarise the place very quickly. Visit 1. I find Daemon the Soothsayer on the top floor. I humour all his predictions but tell him they were wrong afterwards, but I'm also not contradicting him. He gives me the crystal Lassic fears. I find an exploding chest that also gives me the miracle key, which allows me to open all doors, including the magically sealed one, so I don't have to spend Noah's MP. I spend over half an hour filling in as much map as I can, opening every chest until my party is just too drained to continue. I return to Suelo's house and heal. Visit 2. I explore even more dungeon. After being here for over an hour, I filled out the entire map and I made my way to the very top, not a single level up in all that time. At the top, I used the arrow prism to make the celestial castle appear. This music sounds familiar. I then feed the Liam a nut to Meow, which transforms him into a winged beast, allowing us to fly to the castle. On the way, we're attacked by a gold dragon. He's no problem though and killed in the second turn. There are houses on this floating island, most of them are filled with silent old men. The last one before the castle itself has an ambush by a serpent in it. The only house in the game that does this, and it's in the final one you will find. Neat. Time to enter the celestial castle itself. After the Biomalay Tower, you're given another 5-floor dungeon without a place to heal. It's not as complex as Biomalay though, thankfully. While I'm here, I hit the cap on money at 65,535 Mercedes. Maxing money wasn't even something I was thinking about, but I'm glad I did. The only new enemy in here is this boss, the Shadow, a power swap of Dr. Mad. It claims to have been watching everything I did. Is that just while here or throughout the entire game? When it dies, it says that it is just Lassik Shadow. I mean, it is your name. But that's as far as I could make it the first time there. I have to rest up at Suelos. After healing, I have to do the long journey all the way back through the prison, the cave, the lava pool and to the top of Biomalay Tower. On the journey back, Noah reaches level 27, only 1 HP and MP increase again. I even have to fight the gold dragon again. While I'm finishing off the map to the castle, Odin reaches level 26. After a lot of running around, the map is filled and all that's left is to finish things. And here's the king of the Algol system himself. After telling him that yes, I will kill this old man, he attacks. I have Alice casting fire and Noah wind while Meow and Odin attack. Lassik is very powerful. He can attack the entire party in one turn for 30 to 50 damage each. Meow is put on healing duty. It gets too close. First Noah dies having already lost 90 HP from his attack the previous turn, and Meow loses his turn trying to heal his corpse. At just 3 HP he kills Odin too, and dodges 2 attacks that would have been certain to finish him off. But I managed to get that last hit in. Just look at what was left of Alice and Meow. Mission accomplished. We're told that Nero was avenged, to be honest I forgot about him, and that we need to go tell the governor of Motavia. At first I'm worried I'm stuck, because I have no MP to cast Fly. Turns out I just need to feed Meow the nut again. Would this still work if he died? It even drops me right outside Kamenet. I revive the others and pay one last visit to Suelo. You were more useful than anyone else we met. Time to go through the Gothic tunnel, fly to Uzo, drive to Paseo, enter the tunnel to the governor's, and that's where I recognise that music from the castle. It played here first. The governor's not here either, and we fall through the floor into one last dungeon. I gotta say, I like that touch with the music. I thought it sounded a bit out of place the first time we got here, but then forgot about it until I came back here. It's a nice bit of foreshadowing. The next floor of his basement has dragons. Yeah, there's definitely something not right about this governor. I make it down to the bottom corner of the 3rd floor, go through the door and I'm met with this giant blue demon, Dark False. I recognise that face. It's the succubus that attacked the party as they slept in the house next door. You can't see his HP and he can attack twice a turn. I just throw everything I have at him. Fire, wind, boosting Odin's attack with help. I don't know how much HP he has at any point or how much damage I'm doing, but I'm just hoping to wipe out all his health as soon as possible. The scariest part is when he let Alice at just 8 HP. Luckily Meow's cure spell was next. He can hit really hard too. He has him doing 76 damage. Then he kills Meow, who I've been relying on to keep everyone else alive. Luckily the next turn, Odin lands the final blow. The governor is revealed to have been possessed by Dark False, who was strongly implied to have been the cause of Lassik's turn to evil too. He also reveals that Alice's father was a previous king of Algol. When did he find this out? You then have the choice of making Alice queen or not. Sure, why not? We're told that peace has returned to the Algol system and given a slideshow of the party and told that their names will never be forgotten, or given one last view of them all before being dropped into the credits. Now I have some downtime, I'd just like to mention that for years, Dark False was the only image I knew from this game. Anyone who was a kid in the early 2000s remember that website neglected Mario characters with all the sprite comics? Dark False turned out to be the villain of their Mario Busters comic, so for years, that was all I knew him from. Just wanted to mention that part. I just wonder if anyone else had that same introduction. But I'm not done yet. I still haven't maxed out my party, and I'm still missing 4 monsters from the guide, so I reload my save. I refilled the final dungeon map, so I didn't save right before I fought Dark Falls. Now let's go looking for those 4 monsters. Also, it seems I missed a level for Meow when he's actually level 26. So sorry, I don't know how I missed that. The first enemy I'm looking for is out at sea. While searching, Meow reaches level 27. 30 minutes later, I find the big club and kill it. It's new enemy type too that I just missed completely. On my way to search for the next one, Alice reaches level 27. The next enemy can be found in the grassy area between the Bortivo cave exit and Law. It's the elephant. I fought so many of its stronger palette swaps towards the end of the game, but somehow I didn't get one of these. The last 2 enemies I'm missing are on Desiris, but first I fill out a hidden area I missed in Skure Tunnel. Conveniently for me, both enemies I'm missing can be found just outside Skure. First is the Lich, and finally the Executor. Still surprised I missed the entire enemy type. And that is the Monster Guide 100% complete. Now all that's left to do is bring everyone up to level 30. I decided to use the good old fishmen for this, since they're so close to Suelo's house and give good experience for how quickly I can kill them. Despite everyone only being about 3 or 4 levels away when I started this, it still took 5 hours until the last party member, Alice, hit level 30. She needed a total of 63,000 experience for it. The church says everyone is strong enough, and I get one last heal at Swellows. This is where I'll be leaving these lot as I do my final save, and I can't think of a better place. Except not quite yet! Watching this back to write this script nearly 3 months later, I noticed I missed another hidden wall on the first floor of Tarzamal's cave. There's even an open chest on there and everything. So I filled it in and opened the chest, which had 3,000 potatoes in it that would have been useful back then. And now I can leave everyone for good at Swellows. And that is Phantasy Star. I really enjoyed this game and I'm glad I decided to give it a try. I have the next 3 games on a couple of Mega Drive collections and I'd love to do them all for the show someday. I stand by what I said last time, this is one of the best 80s RPGs I've played.